Hey there, friends. David Paulides, Scane Missing Project. This is the executive producer of the show. Huck! She said you're a good girl. Yes, you're a good girl. Yeah. She was doing a good job today, keeping those nasty deer and squirrels away from the house. Oh, I know, you're such a good girl. Yeah, you're a good girl. Yes, you're a good puppy. Yes, a good girl. Well, we're going to talk today about some up-and-coming things that I need to talk about every year. We're coming into hunting season, and every year I go over the same stuff. Every year the same things happen. First of all, I know some hunters are going to get all bent out of shape about this, but that's life. Everyone buys this really cool, and I love it, camel coats, pants. It all is worthless. Long time ago, I learned from a wildlife biologist that deer are partially colorblind. They can't see reds and orange. That's right, guys and ladies. They can't. Which is why wearing hunter orange is a brilliant idea. Deer can't see it. And it just might save your life. How's that, Dave? Explain that. Every year, 2 to 5 hunters get killed in North America by another hunter. And why? Because those hunters are idiots. That's all I can tell you. They're fools. I can remember I took a hunter safety class when I was a policeman. Yeah, we had to take one if you wanted a hunting license. And the guy who gave the class was just super good. And he was explaining that you have to have target acquisition before you pull that trigger. Meaning, you know exactly what you're looking at before you shoot. And he reiterated this 10 times. He said, if you hear some movement in the bush over there, and you're not 110% sure what it is, you do not fire that gun. But every year, some fools do. And they shoot a hunter. It happens all the time. Now there's a far greater chance that if those hunters weren't wearing camo, they'd be seeing if they were wearing a hunter orange coat and vest and hat. Please, even if the state doesn't require it, wear it. Another item, hunters, carry a personal locator beacon. You are the ones that are going off trail. And every year there are at least 100 search and rescues across the United States and Canada of hunters that go missing. Oh, it won't be me, Dave. That's what everyone says. Every hunter says that. Oh, it won't be me. No way. Yeah, right. A personal locator beacon would alleviate all these search and rescues, thousands of hours of searches by volunteers, and save dozens of lives every year. It already does save lives every year, by the way. Another one, and I would say 90% of the hunters don't do this. Carry at least 12 rounds of ammunition for your rifle. 12 rounds, Dave, that's stupid. Oh, really? So if a hunter is lost, you're taught, and you probably forgot this, if you're lost, you sit down and you stay in one spot. And you fire off 3 rounds in rapid succession. Boom, boom, boom. That's the national call that someone is in distress and they need help. Another hour later, boom, boom, boom. You may need to do this 3 or 4 times. That's why I say at least 12 rounds. Just saying. That coupled with your personal locator beacon should do the trick. Always carry extra water in energy bars. Energy bars don't weigh anything. They could save your life. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and you break your leg, you could eat a half an energy bar in the morning and a half at night and keep yourself alive for a couple extra days. Water is life. You've got to have water to live more than 3 or 4 days. Oh yeah, people will say, oh yeah, I heard about people living 10, 12 days without water. Yeah, that's not the norm. 3 or 4 days is about it. And then for the hunters that are skilled enough to harvest an animal, listen carefully. You're looking at the guy that has written multiple stories about this. Hunters, oftentimes alone, kill a deer. You got to field dress the deer. You got to take the guts out, and you got to clean it, and you got to do all this stuff. Just part of life. Well, you're focused on that deer carcass. Your rifle's put over here against a tree or a rock or laying on the ground. You've got blood and guts all over your hands. And you hear something coming up fast behind you. There have been innumerable cases of hunters in that exact position being attacked by cougars and bears. You don't have time to get to your rifle. That's why I always carry a pistol with me. Always. And it's usually right here. And you can laugh at me if you want, but when I'm helping somebody field dress something, I always wear gloves. You know why? Because all I have to do is go, and my hand is dry and clean. You try holding a pistol with blood and guts all over your hand. It ain't gonna happen. Always tell family or friends exactly where you're going to be on a map. Best, leave them a map and put the directions on exactly where you're going to be. Always carry a hard copy map yourself, and always carry a GPS guide on you. So you always have a backup. I've been out many places and my electronics fail. And I put batteries in that morning. I've been out many times where I'm holding a compass and it's just going in circles. Things happen. Things happen. So that's my lecture to hunters today. You can laugh at me if you want. That's fine. If you're a wife, daughter, son, uncle, friend of a hunter, get him a GPS locator, get him a personal locator beacon. All right. Now we're going to talk today. First case is about, a missing hunter. Gee, Dave, that's coincidental. And it's in an area where this county may have the most people missing out of any county in the U.S. I'm working on it. I'll find out. It's Fresno County. Fresno is kind of in the Central Valley of California, just north of the LA area. And then just to the hills to the east, you've got Kings Canyon National Park, Sequoia National Park, and Yosemite. Son of a gun. Well, this story involves a man named Thomas Seager. Thomas, 33 years old, prime of health, excellent condition, went missing October 7th, 1973. It's Thomas. He planned to go deer hunting with a friend up in Fresno County. He was born and raised in Ogden, Utah. graduated from college and landed a job with the IRS in Austin, Texas. Shortly after he landed the job in 1971, he was transferred to the Fresno IRS Processing Center and was named immediately chief of the computer branch, a prestigious position. He was recognized as super smart, extremely friendly, married, had 3 kids, and was a leader in his Latter-day Saint church in Fresno. I tell you, he had 3 kids. 3 kids. He was a super experienced outdoorsman. He had hunted in Utah, hunted in California, hunted in Texas, grew up hunting with his family in Utah. Well, he was planning a trip with his longtime friend, a guy named John Hunsaker, who was also an IRS employee. Both these guys had spent their lives in the outdoors. So the men made a relatively short drive on October 6, 1973 from Fresno into the Dinky Creek, Ross Meadow, Patterson Mountain area to hunt. And they made their camp, their base camp in Ross Meadow. For people who have been here a while, Dave, Dinky Creek, I've heard of that. Oh yeah. Several people missing in that area. Now Thomas was wearing a green military field jacket, blue jeans, boots, carrying a canteen, and he had some candy in his pocket. The men had scheduled a return to their families on October 8th. On the 7th, Seager and Hunsaker were hunting together around Patterson Mountain. And later that morning, they decided, hey, we haven't seen anything, nothing's going on. Let's split up, maybe we'll have some more luck, and we'll meet back at camp at 1 o'clock. Both of them say, yeah, that's good, we'll do that. So Ross Meadow, 1 p.m. Hunsaker shows up at 12:30, starts making lunch for both of them. Seager didn't show up at 1. 1:30, 2, 2:30. He wasn't showing up. So Hunsaker finished his lunch, smart idea, and then goes out looking for Seager. Calling his name, nothing. He did say during the investigation that he heard 1 gunshot shortly after he and Thomas split up. That was the only thing he heard, saw, anything along those lines. He waited till the next morning, drove out, notified the Fresno County Sheriff Seager was missing. He said Seager was super athletic, and in fact was the pitcher on the IRS softball team that played in Fresno County at night. And he was very active in his Mormon church, was a lifelong hunter and outdoorsman, probably be one of the last people he'd expect not to come back from a trip. And the temperatures that first night dropped down into the into the low 30s. Well, right away, Fresno County calls out search and rescue, puts 2 Civil Air Patrol planes into the sky, and they were calling for bloodhounds as well. And they had about 20 ground pounders that they had requested. Hunsaker contacted Seager's wife right away. Seager's wife called their church because they had a lot of friends there. And the church had members from the IRS on their church team, and they told the IRS what was going on. Search starts right away, October 8th. Searchers go out, and I was impressed. Seager was carrying a .32 caliber rifle, and they found 2 empty casings for a .32 caliber rifle. And near that same area, they found a candy wrapper of the type of candy that Tom was eating, carrying in his pocket. It's pretty impressive that they found that. That's how good searchers are. The LDS Church heard what was happening to Tom, and they contracted for a helicopter at $1,500 an hour to search for 2 days. How many churches do you know that would do that? Just so you know, I grew up in the LDS Church until I was 18 and I went to college. And they push family incessantly, the importance of a family, the importance of having dinner with your family every day, the importance of helping each other in the church at a time of great need. That's what the church did for the Seagers. Thomas's wife, named Velda, stayed very much involved at home with her kids and keeping hourly updated with the search. At the beginning, she wasn't too worried about Thomas because he was such a outdoorsy guy, had so much experience. She just thought he was going to walk out eventually. He didn't. 11 days after the search starts, it's ended. The Fresno County Sheriff made a statement to the press with these newspaper headlines: "Disappearance of Fresno hunter baffles searchers." The summation: 100 searchers came from the IRS office where Tom worked. They took their personal vacation days to look for their boss. How many people would do that? They were searching at the 8,000 foot level for Tom. Few men could have garnered an 11-day search by Fresno County. That's an extraordinary amount for 1973. And then to have their church spend $25,000 for a helicopter to look for you, that's phenomenal. There were several searches over the years. Friends, relatives, even Fresno County had training searches out there. Nothing. The 11-day SAR included Fresno and Calaveras County. Now, normally their searches go 7 days, so 11 days, that really depleted resources for the county. So that meant that the search ended on October 19th, 1973. Tom's family was devastated. The leader of the family, the breadwinner, gone. Fresno County didn't have a clue what happened. They didn't find any stripped clothing. They didn't find any blood. They didn't find his rifle. They didn't find anything. Peculiar to say the least. Now, the search ends October 19th. A man named Jack Scane, who lived in that greater Fresno area as well at 55 years old. On October 22nd, 73, Jack, who owned a fishing lodge and was originally from Mendota, he was married, father of one, World War II military vet for the Air Force, survival trained. On October 20th, Jack left his home and drove up to his hunting area near, very near, where Seager disappeared. Near Shaver Lake was this location. He's driving into the area of his hunt in his Jeep, and a friend and fellow hunter who happened to be on the road saw him and waved him down, and they had a conversation. Hey, what are you doing here? I'm going hunting. Oh, where are you going? He says, oh, I'm going on the east side of Shaver Lake, back up into the area there. And he says, hey, when I come back out tomorrow night, I'll stop by and talk to you. His buddy goes, oh, that's great. I appreciate that. Now, where are those areas? Hold on to your seat. So here is Fresno, California. This is in the Central Valley right here. As you go east, you got Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park. Kings Canyon National Park here. And Seager disappears on Patterson Mountain, right next to Ross Meadow. 12 miles northwest, Jack Scane disappears on Music Mountain, right on the backside of Shaver Lake. Now, friends, what is right in between both of these disappearances? Almost right in the middle, exactly? Dinky Creek. I can't make this up, friends. I can't make it up. Sometimes knowledge drives me crazy. Sometimes I think I have too much knowledge in my brain and I can't make it work sometimes. So, Jack talks to his friend and says, hey, I'll drive by, stop by, and we'll compare notes tomorrow night. He says, great. So Jack drove up to his area, parked his car, spent the night, got up the next morning, went into the wilderness. So the next night, being October 21st, his friend's waiting for him to stop by in his Jeep. He never stops by. Well, the next morning, his friend went out to look for him. Now, stop right there. How many friends would do what this friend is doing? Truthfully, if I didn't know what I do know, I'm not sure I would go out and look. But knowing what I know, I would for sure. I just think, oh, maybe he just left early, left last night, didn't want, was in a hurry, whatever. Rationalize it away. But his friend didn't. And that was key. So his friend starts driving around, eventually finds Jack's Jeep, gets out, searches the area, looks around, doesn't find squat. But it had rained that weekend that they were hunting. So his friend gets back in his car and makes a long drive out, notifies the Fresno County Sheriff. So it's now October 22nd, 3 days after the search for Tom Seager disappeared. They immediately put 2 planes into the sky, along with 2 different search and rescue teams. There was one article I found. This kind of gets me mad, folks, but I'm going to tell you anyhow. It gets me mad because no reference, nobody who said it would opt out to it or admit to it. They said that Jack occasionally became disoriented. That's what the article said. There was just one line in it. So what? Why would you say that? It's said because you could kind of dismiss it in your own mind. Oh, you know what? You just got lost out there or something. It's to give search and rescue an out. Nobody admitted saying it. His friend didn't say it. It never said who it came from. Now, searchers admittedly weren't sure the area that Jack was hunting in, except the area around his Jeep, but they wanted to know if it was behind, in front, on which angle do you start searching from? Well, the SAR had to go in all directions from the very beginning, and they kept expanding out as the days went by. At one point, they were able to put multiple bloodhound teams out into the countryside looking for Jack. Now that was within days of his disappearance. If he had broken a leg, if he was injured, dogs would pick up that scent and find him. So remember, Thomas's search was 11 days. Jack's search, 7 days. Found nothing. The men were missing 12 miles apart. Recent weather events, granite everywhere out there. Both men, super experienced outdoorsmen. On October 30th, they terminated the search for Jack. I just got to show you this again because I think it's super important. Dinky Creek. Lake, Patterson Mountain. Music Mountain. Right in the middle. National parks all the way around. Sometimes I can't get over the coincidences I find. Now, Jack's gone. Thomas is gone. This area is hunted by thousands of people every year. They come from all over California to come into one of the most well-harvested, produced deer hunting areas in the state. The next year, after Jack disappears, in September, 2 hunters are northeast of Shaver Lake, near Music Mountain. It was never said where on Music Mountain, the elevation, low, high, cliff, water. They didn't say anything. They just said that the hunters found a skull. It was a fairly well intact skull with a lower mandible, which means it had teeth. The hunters mark the area. They go out and they tell Fresno County. And Fresno County comes in, they recover the skull, and they said, there's only one hunter missing in this area, and that's Jack Scane. So they put 3 deputies there for 3 days. And you say, well, Dave, why would they do that? First of all, they don't know if they can ID Jack based on his teeth or not. And you can't. In 73, you couldn't count on that. Now you can count on DNA. 73, no. So the deputies do a circular route, starting inside and going out, looking for evidence. And what are they looking for? Predominantly the things that never move. What's that, Dave? A rifle, his belt, his boots, his backpack, which he was probably carrying if he was a deer hunter, because you got to carry your supplies in there. Well, they searched for 3 days. And they searched an area out to 200 or 300 yards. And guess what they found? Nothing. I couldn't believe it. Nothing? Nothing except the skull on Music Mountain. Sorry, friends, that makes no sense to me. None at all. I'm not sure if I've ever heard that before. Now the question comes up, what the heck could have happened? Well, a forensic expert got the skull, and they did do a dental comparison and a match, and it was Jack Scane. But the bigger question is, where is the rest of Jack? I understand. bears, mountain lions, tear the body apart, eat it. I get all that. But animals do not like to eat belts and boots. And yes, some animals do bury their remains of the items that they want to eat later. True. But still, to not find the rifle? Come on. That one's a really hard one for me to explain. Some people may say, well, you know, maybe another hunter came by, saw the rifle, and took it. It's possible, but this was just a year after he disappeared. And it wasn't even into the prime time of deer hunting. I think it was bow and arrow time at that point. So there weren't a lot of people into the area. 2 people missing within 12 miles. One person, Tom Seager, never found. Ever. Jack Scane, he found his skull and nothing else. Friends, I'm sorry. And what's the midpoint between the two of them? Dinky Creek. You're going to hear me talk more about this as time goes on, trust me. But I appreciate you being here. Kindness is everything. If we're not kind to each other, what separates us from the animals? We got to be kind, friends. It's those little acts of kindness. And let me tell you a short story. This one really got to me. I usually go out for lunch every day. Rarely go out for dinner, but at lunch, I got a lot of errands to run. Sometimes I got to go to the post office, a lot of things to do. And I have a routine of going to like 8 or 9 different restaurants over a 2-week period. One restaurant I go to pretty regularly. It's got decent food. But one thing about this restaurant, it has the best waitress in the world. And I am not kidding you. I first met this lady 2 years ago. And right away, she memorized what I like to eat. When I would step in the restaurant, boom. I'd have my drink there, and I would start a meal with a salad, and I'd have a salad right there. Then just say, "What are you having for lunch, Dave? I'll get it going for you right away." And she was always smiling, always happy, always upbeat. And she wasn't doing that just for me. I watched her. She did it for everybody. She was just a kind soul. And you know, when I was young, my mom told me, "Dave, whatever job you're going to do it better than everyone else." I always had that in my mind. And I thought when I saw this woman, I said, that's the best waitress I've ever seen. And day to day, she never changed. Week to week, I'd come in and she was always working harder than everybody. A couple days ago, I went in the restaurant. I could tell that this lady just wasn't herself. I'd never seen her like that. And if you weren't a regular customer, you really wouldn't know. She came by and she was polite and friendly. And second time she came by, I said, "Hey, what's up?" She kind of looked at the ground. She said, "Why do you ask?" I said, "I could tell. Something's wrong. What can I do for you?" And she says, "Dave, you've never known this, but I've got really bad depression. Suicidal level depression." Oh my gosh. It took my breath away. I'd never known. I would have never known. And I knew she had to get on to other customers, but I told her, I said, I feel horrible for you. You hide it so well. She goes, yeah, I've learned to do that over the years. And I told her about NAMI. I asked her if she had sought help before. Just hit me like a lead balloon. And why I bring it up is that there are people around you, you have no clue that they may have horrendous depression because they hide it so well. I'm going to write this lady a letter. She knows nothing about Ben, or she really knows nothing about me other than I just eat there once in a while. But I'm gonna give her all the free resources that I know about. Encourage her to reach out and go to one of these meetings. And reiterate to her how important she is in my little world. So I should tell you this. 3 weeks ago, I was in that same restaurant. And this woman who I'd never seen before in 2 years comes by and she goes, oh, how was your meal? And I go, it was great. I said, I've never seen you here. Who are you? She goes, oh, I'm the district manager. I said, hey, do you have a second? Sit down. She sits down and I said, you know my waitress? She goes, yeah. I go, that's the best waitress I've ever had in my life. And I've eaten thousands of meals out. And I'm not kidding you. And she goes, Dave, she goes, well, sir, that is so nice of you to say it. I go, I'm not saying it to be nice. I'm saying it to be truthful. You need to really appreciate that lady. She works her butt off for you. And she goes, you know, not many people say that about our waitress or waitresses. And so thank you. I said, no, really, treat her well. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, I heard this. Wow. Caring. Care about people. More of us need to care about each other. This weekend, I'm going to sit down and write up this letter and drop it at the front desk for this waitress. And let her know that there's a lot of people that care about her. And I'm also going to tell her in that letter, because she said she had been suicidal before, I'm going to explain to her that suicide is just nothing but a passing of the pain to friends and relatives. So all of your loved ones would be inundated with your pain after you pass. Friends, thanks for being here. I honestly do care about all of you. So does Huck. Be kind and be friendly to the people out there that you make contact with. Do something nice for people. Paulides out.